Good evening, everyone. I am Pete Panito, First Northern Credit Union's Business Development Contact. We have First Northern's Zachary Taylor presenting today's webinar, Building Your First Budget. This presentation is part of our monthly financial wellness program here at First Northern. It's April already. It feels like the new year just started. Thanks for taking your time to join us today on this what looks like a cloudy evening. So throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box. It comes straight to Zachary and myself, so please don't be shy. The only silly question is the one not asked. You also have the ability to raise your virtual hand as well during the session, and I will respond. I will answer as many questions as I can during the presentation, and we will make sure that we address them all. If I miss any during the presentation, we will answer all of them at the end. We appreciate you joining us this evening on this, again, slightly cloudy evening. And there is a handout that you can download. Look to your right, you can download and for future reference. And I know Zachary will be referencing that during his presentation this evening. And with that, with all my talk, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mr. Zachary Taylor at this point. Zachary, it's all yours.
Thank you so much for that, Pete. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on this evening, taking a little bit of time to jump into our Building Your First Budget webinar with us. I hope you're as excited about this topic as I am, and if not, I hope by the end of it you are. So, okay, with that, grab something to drink and let's dive right in on building your first budget. All right, so why budget? So, well, to put it simply, if we do not know what is coming in and what needs to go out, we're shooting in the dark with our money, and we definitely don't want to shoot in the dark with our money. A good budget will help us use our money more efficiently, reach goals, and achieve financial independence without having to sacrifice life's pleasures. So budgets vary from individual to individual, so definitely keep that in mind. But one rule is consistent. We want our expenses to always be less than our income. We need our expenses to not exceed our income for sure on there. Otherwise, we're in the red, and we definitely have to start off with some big changes just to begin with there. Most of all, we need to be honest when making a budget. It can be easy to make things look good on paper, but if we leave off things that we spend on, we will not have a realistic view, and that can definitely cause some problems when we're trying to set those goals for ourselves on there. My go-to saying is money without a purpose is money bound to be wasted. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. That was a lot to chew right off the beginning, but we'll get there. So first things first, we need to set goals. So goals are important to all budgets. They are the final reward that encourages you to stick to your plan, but sometimes it can be difficult to figure out what exactly your goals are or what they should be. So we'll take a look at some of these questions on the slide, and you can ask yourself these questions as well just to help determine where to even start. So what plans do you have that will cost money? What do you need to save for? How much will you need to save? Should you save for the unexpected? Yes. I'm just going to throw that out there. Yes. And which is your most important goal? Because you're going to have to prioritize depending on how much you have on your budget. But we'll get into all of that. So when making a budget, you have to think of all of these questions, but just start simple. Try to think of what you need to save for in the near future, then what you may need a little bit further down the line, and finally, working towards retirement. So set short-term, which, is in the next year or so, some midterm goals, I say 2 to 5 years on there, and then some long-term goals. So definitely have all of those on there. My biggest tip I can give is to remember that budgets must be fluid. By this, I mean it will change with you. So if you start to make more money, find a way to allocate that money by updating your budget. Again, money without a purpose is going to find a way to get wasted. I said that before. I'm going to chant that kind of like my mantra for the rest of this presentation. If you do want to buy something nice, say a TV on Black Friday, squeeze that into your goals, fit it into your budget, and just remember, that you also have to save for life's random emergencies and anything else that may be coming up. So if you want to set goals for like a TV or a vacation, anything like that, that's why I say our budget is fluid. We'll update that as things come through on our life. All right, let's talk about that saving. Let's take a quick look at the very first one on there. So definitely start saving now. That should be pretty standard. So why do today what you can do tomorrow? Well, because waiting to save money until after you've paid all of your bills almost guarantees that you will put nothing aside or not have anything left to put aside. With money in a wallet or checking account, the urge to spend it often surpasses the desire to save it. So again, that's just another wording for, like I said, if you have money just sitting in your pocket, you're going to find a way to spend it. However, by beginning with saving, so if you set your savings aside first when you first get paid, anything like that, depositing that money into a savings account before or as some other bills are paid, you can defeat the urge to even postpone this task, which is very important. A lot of people, I will say, start doing this by having direct deposit, a portion taken out of their check, out of sight, out of mind. It goes right into the savings that you have set in your goal section. And then you don't even have the urge to spend it because it's already been allocated, which is a great start on that. So when you build your budget, you should be putting that fixed savings amount into your essential expenses. Sorry about that. Why? Because your dreams, your goals, those should take just as much importance to your budget as other necessary expenses like rent and various things like that. Again, this may seem obvious, but remember what I said. I'm going to keep harping on this, but you have to have a purpose for your money. So you can try to close the gap of trying not to spend it by planning ahead, which is exactly what the budget is for. And that's going to bring us to the meat and potatoes of building a budget. The next few slides, we're going to look at what goes into a budget and some of the things to look out for and how to essentially build it on there. So to get into all of that, we definitely want to start by tracking where our money is going in the first place. This will just give us an idea of what we're spending on, what our spending habits are, and then we can have that in mind while we're beginning to sit down and start building the budget. Tracking expenses also provides an understanding of where the money is going out on a very real level because you're looking at the receipts. So there's some methods up on the screen as far as ways to do that, but there's also several apps and different various resources out there for tracking your expenses, and I encourage you to find one or build one if you're familiar with Excel or anything like that. Just find a method that works for you and that you're going to stick with. That's the biggest part on there, and that's what's going to help you the most on there. Now, as Pete said earlier, there is a handout attached that you can download right from the software on there. Feel free to download that. If you did already download it, you can find a quick sheet for tracking your expenses on page 5. Or you could do what I did when I was starting out and just write down every purchase on a piece of paper throughout the day, place that paper along with the receipts for those purchases into a shoebox at the end of the day, and then at the end of the week, pull it all out, take a review, write it down, and you may be extremely surprised to see where your money goes. All right, now we're going to get into constructing the budget. Now, this is going to seem like some obvious information on there, but it is very important. And again, we're talking about building your first budget, just getting into the habit of it. So very important stuff, even if it seems like some information that we may already know. So a budget is simply a well thought out spending and savings plan. It can be developed using a paper worksheet or a computer program or even a phone app nowadays. There are websites also available that you can put your information into, and it will kind of track it for you on there. I myself made an Excel worksheet that just is what works for me. So again, find what works for you. You could also get one from our partnered Balance Pro website, which I will ask Pete to link in the chat. Again, everything on there is free. You don't have to sign in. Any worksheet that you find on there, feel free to download. It's not going to cost you anything at all. We're partnered with it, so it's completely free for you. Again, just find a method that works for you, and most importantly, again, be honest with building it. So if you aren't honest with yourself when you're building the budget, you're going to run into a lot of problems later on because you can't adjust and it won't be as fluid because the information in it just isn't realistic. To go along with that, remember that this is for you. No one else, unless you ask them to, is going to see your budget. So, simply put, we want to see our net income minus our expenses, and we will have money left over, hopefully. And we'll have to decide where we want to put that money. That's the savings, that's the goals, everything from there. And if there isn't money left over, that's our starting point. So we have to have, a positive income left over on there for us to really adjust the budget. Otherwise, we got to find places to cut. So let's go ahead and jump right into the first part that goes on to our budget. That's going to be our income. Excuse me for 1 second while I take a drink, and then we'll jump right in there. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. So the first step of creating a monthly budget is to calculate your income. Now that's the money that you have coming into your budget every month, of course. Let's take a look at some of the possible income streams. You've got your job, you've got allowance, if you're getting paid some of that. Birthday money, I put that on there, but it's not a steady income, obviously, as you only get it on your birthday. Student loans, support, so if you're getting any other kind of support payments, anything like that, or just other little side gigs that you have that have money coming in. Again, try to be honest, only put money that you know is going to come in monthly when you're building your budget, or if it is a one-time lump sum, you're going to have to break it down into monthly segments just to get a realistic idea of what's going on monthly, because when we talk about our budget, we are talking about month-to-month basis on there. All right. How you calculate your monthly income will vary based on how often you receive the income, otherwise known as your pay frequency. So depending on the type of income, you may receive it weekly, bi-weekly, which is every 2 weeks, or monthly. Now, if you receive income weekly, you will want to multiply the amount you receive by 4 weeks. That's just kind of how we estimate the months, 4 weeks in a month on there, to arrive at the monthly amount. Whereas, of course, if you receive it bi-weekly, you would only multiply it by 2. Now, these calculations are based on steady income again. If yours does vary, do your best to put in an amount that best represents your income. So you could take a few months, average it out, and see what that gives you. Or you could try to use a prior year if that's applicable for you. But essentially, it's okay if you do need to estimate your income. That's perfectly fine. Just remember to come back and update your budget as things change, as you get a more realistic idea of what it's going to look like. Remember, as I said, your budget is fluid, so you can treat it like a car and change that oil often. Okay, maybe that was a bad analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say. We do need to be constantly adjusting our budget to fit with our life, because our life does change as we go. And with that, we're going to get into the dreaded expenses. Now, again, if you did download the worksheet, what you're seeing on the screen right now is the sheet from page 7 on there. So when developing the expense section, you should have 2 columns to work with. One is for what you have been spending your money on, using the tracking work if you've already done that I talked about a little bit earlier. And then the other is for your spending goals that you have moving forward. So let's describe the difference between essential and discretionary expenses. How do you determine whether an expense is essential or discretionary? Now, for me, essential are necessary or mandatory expenses like rent and food, whereas discretionary are so-called fun expenses, or at least that's how I like to remember it. If you need it to live, it usually falls under essential. And no, that does not mean Netflix. That is not, an essential necessary purchase, even if it feels like it sometimes. But for items like food, again, try to average it out. So what you spend each week, multiply that, just take a look at that, multiply it together to get your monthly on there. So multiply it by 4, or just average it out if you go every 2 weeks, essentially get your month-to-month expenses on there. and just try to break it down. I know this worksheet has it broken down by food, transportation, miscellaneous, income taxes, savings. Again, you may not have some of those when you're building your first budget. Keep it as simple as you can and then add to it or take it away as you need to. Keep it fluid, and it'll fit better for you. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of what we touched on in the savings area. You do need to establish an emergency savings account. Establishing and maintaining an emergency savings account is key to any sound financial plan. You just never know what life is going to throw at you. Having money that you can easily access in a pinch will prevent you from borrowing from friends and family, hopefully, or keep you from getting into debt, which is never fun. You can get out of debt. It is manageable if that does happen. We have webinars for that throughout the year as well, but that's not where we're going to jump into tonight. A good rule of thumb is to have 3 to 6 times the amount of what you need to survive. So let's say that you've determined that your monthly living expenses are $400. This includes some non-essential expenses like dining out, some gifts, a gym membership. However, your essentials, car insurance, gas, smartphone bill, etc., run you about $250 a month. In this case, an appropriate starting emergency account amount would be around $750, which is 3 times that $250 essential that you have on there. Of course, these numbers are just an example, but once you get used to budgeting, it will be great to watch your nest egg grow. So I always encourage people to try to eventually have 3 to 6 months worth of your salary, if you are on a salaried job, saved just in case for some reason you lose your job, life comes at you, and you need the money to live while you find a new job or readjust your life to get where you need to get back on your feet. Once you have achieved that amount, you would want to find the best investment vehicle afterwards. You don't have to keep building your nest egg. I would definitely encourage you to speak to a financial service advisor and talk to them about some of your goals to see where to put that money. But again, we're just talking about building your first budget and jumping in there. So, you know, we won't get too much again into that today, but just a little foresight. All right, that brings us to the dreaded budget busters. What's going to break up our beautiful budget that we just put together? So how do you stay on track with your newly developed budget? Start by avoiding the budget busters that can sabotage even the best laid out plans. Only spend money on things that you have included in your budget, and don't allow yourself to fall victim to impulse buying. You're standing in line for the grocery store, you see the Snickers on the side. Yeah, it's only $1, but if you do that every day that you go to the store, that's $5 a week, that's $20 a month. You see what I'm saying? It adds up. So impulse buying is when you purchase something without planning to do so in advance as a result of just an impulse or a whim, or you see it and you just have to have it at that moment. It's tricky. It's tricky to traverse that. Imagine you go online to order a shirt, you end up with a cart full of pants, a new jacket, some new shoes. It happens fast. So just try to stay away from that impulse buying. Try not to bring cash into the store with you because, again, cash finds a way to burn a hole through your pocket. It's going to get spent if you go in there with it most of the time. To help you make the best decisions possible and to keep an eye on your newly developed budget, just take a moment to assess your money choices before you open your wallet. Again, I'm going to give you a tip that may not apply to you, but it's the biggest tip that helped me. And it saved me hundreds, maybe even thousands at this point. And that was removing my credit card from Amazon. By the time I enter it in again, I usually end up deleting my entire cart because it was just stuff that looked cool and I wanted it at that time. And I definitely had to take it away because of that one-click purchase. It's definitely dangerous. I like to read a lot, and it was one click, and my Kindle was full of new books that I eventually try to read, but some of them I still haven't opened. So just my story, just try to learn from me on that one. But let's take a look at some of the budget buster choices on there, some questions that you can ask yourself when trying to avoid busting that budget. Everyone does make a lot of powerful spending choices every day. It's just bound to happen. To help make the best decisions possible, though, and to keep on your budget, again, it's a good idea just to take a look at every purchase by asking yourself a few things. Do I need it? Do I need it now? And what would happen if I didn't have it? So do I need it? A want is a desire. It's something that is possible to live without, of course. A need is essential, so living without it would cause extreme hardship. So again, you just have to find the separation on that. But every expense should be examined and considered. And if it's a want versus a need, maybe just hold off on it, or just give it some time, and you'll end up deleting your cart like I do. Which brings you to the next question of, do I need it now? Is the item needed immediately, or can it be delayed? If it has to go on the credit card and the ultimate price is high because of added interest, is it really worth that cost? That's dependent on you. So just consider it. And then what would happen if I didn't have it? Asking this question can definitely make the difference between bringing home a shopping bag full of impulse items, and that definitely adds up, or could have been put towards a savings plan, anything that you were trying to do on there, and saving for things that are really wanted or needed. So definitely ask yourself those 3 questions whenever you're going out to purchase. And again, like I said in the first couple of slides there, it's okay to go out and get a new TV or something like that. Just give yourself a couple months to fit it into your budget and squeeze it in there. So we're already getting to the home stretch. That's pretty much the basics of getting in there. But remember to stay motivated. This may have been a lot of info, but once your budget is set up, and it really will start to run itself, aside from just editing your goals, keeping it fluid on there. The hardest part is just getting it set up and tracking what's going on. Budgeting is much like a diet. The beginning is going to be the roughest part, but once you get in the groove, you start to feel so much better as you see it progress and hopefully improve on there. But remember, it is your money. It is okay to set aside some fun money in your budget. Just fit it into your budget. I allot, a little $50 a week, just if I want to go out and eat once in a while, if I want to treat myself to something, you just fit it into your budget and you adjust it as you need to. So with that, visualize the success, stay organized, of course, be realistic, and watch the budget progress, watch it grow, and keep your expectations realistic, and that will definitely help you stay motivated. With that, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I know it was a lot of information in what felt like a short period of time on there. I'm going to check in with Pete and see if we had any questions left over that he didn't get to, and I will definitely answer those if we did. Pete?
Hello, Zachary. I'm here. Thank you. And awesome presentation. And I answered a few questions. I'm just giving another second to see if anything else comes in. Anybody raise your hand? No, it looks like we're good. So thank you, Zachary, and I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. No more questions, and we will follow up with an email over the next few days with the PowerPoint presented today in a PDF form. And please email any questions that you have. And I'm going to let Zachary have the final word, but I want to just wish everybody the best of health, wealth, and positivity. And I thank you for joining us this evening. And with that, I hand it back over to you, Zachary, for the last word.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to reiterate what Pete said and just say thank you for joining us this evening. It's definitely step number 1. The fact that you showed up to learn about creating a budget says a lot, and I definitely wish you all the best on that. If there's any questions or snags that you run into and you just need some help, or want to figure out how to align some things on your budget, feel free to email me. Pete and I are definitely here to help. We are passionate about helping people get on their financial feet and get that structural integrity set up. That's what we're here for. So again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening and joining us. And I hope the rest of your week goes well. Thank you so much.